Men of Reddit, what is the biggest turn-off a girl can do? This wonderful girl I've been off with, she's nice and sweet and everything, but for some reason she forgets to flush. She was staying the weekend at my place, and sometimes multiple days a week, for a few months earlier this year. Sometimes I would walk into the master bathroom and there was a huge shit in there, not to mention the fucking smell. It was only me and her in the apartment. Be all mysterious about some past drama, make it seem some big trauma, get you feeling for her. Discourage individual hobbies. My wife is really supportive of mine as I am of hers. I work on cars and bikes, I play video games, and she's into coloring, puzzles, and collecting medical specimens. She's not into my stuff and I'm not into her stuff, but we have mutual respect for what makes the other happy, therefore we support each other. When she makes fun of the things you like, but not in a light-hearted way. I had plenty of girls I wanted to potentially ask out, so we're not even dating, make fun of everything I like, and when I ask why are you acting like this I get the, I'm just trying to help you and make you better, but I like Star Wars. I like nerdy things. YTF would I ever want to change myself just for a girl to potentially go out with me? I don't understand the, I need to fix someone, mentality. I would never force another person to change. You are who you are, and if we aren't compatible that's okay, it's part of life. It can happen. But forcing another to change just so you can be seen with them or accept them is not only a turnoff but a tsunami of red flags. I realize this is very specific, but have a vagina flavor that consistently tastes exactly like a soft-shell beef taco from Taco Bell. I briefly dated a smart, sexy, successful architect who was in every other way a perfect 10/10, so far out of my league. But for some reason she was into me. However, the first time, and all subsequent times, I went down on her, I was flabbergasted to encounter the exact same flavor as my standard order from my favorite fast food restaurant, for soft-shell beef tacos. It wasn't similar, it was the same. Perfected, dialed in, indistinguishable, to the point that the overriding thought in my head was, this needs fire sauce. I couldn't get over it, and so we broke up shortly after. I had an ex that at the last 6 months of our relationship would flirt with other guys right in front of me. She either was doing it purposely to hurt me or just had no respect for me whatsoever. It filled me with the combinations of uncontrollable sadness, rage, and an overwhelming feeling of dread and hopelessness. She quickly went from perfect in my eyes to something much, much less. I was starting to mentally check out of the relationship at that point. Unfortunately, I was too insecure and needy to stand up for myself, and it went on for far too long. But I'll never forget how it felt. There's nothing worse than that. Getting angry at us for being proactive and/or reactive. If we try to help without discussing the plan, we didn't communicate, but if we wait to be told what to do, the fact she had to tell us to pitch in bothers her. Needless to say, this is not indicative of all women, but I recently read an article written by a marriage counselor on the topic. It was her #1 topic of discussion with the wives, and she didn't see the contradiction in her own article. I grew up with a mother like this, so I default to waiting to be told what to do, so I can say I waited for instructions before proactively trying to be helpful, only to be snapped at for not immediately knowing what to do. Pursue and prosecute the times you're wrong about something like it's part of your personality rather than something changeable or transient. Being wrong is not a sin. All of us make mistakes. Willful ignorance and not learning from mistakes are the problems. Keep a running tally of those times, make it obvious you have a running tally, and then bring it up later. Keep score. I feel like previous generations had a bigger problem with this, but it is common enough to have its own word. Henpecking. Not acknowledging mental illnesses unless it's happening to her. This one time the both of us and one of her friends went to a stand-up show, and in the middle of the show I started having one of the worst anxiety attacks I've ever had because of some childhood trauma I have, and she was the only one I had ever had told what I went through in my childhood, and yet she still insisted that we stay for the show and go for a bite afterwards too. I was quiet the entire time and her friend kept talking. That day I decided that I can't stay with her.